Hotep, Salam, Shalom, Ashe, Hiyi, Peace, Amen. Universal greetings there that I've used or expressed. Now, this next word, or two words that I'm going to expound on, I was going to save until, I guess you could say, like the last post that I was going to do. However, I felt it necessary because of a conversation that I had earlier with a great friend of mine to go ahead and throw these out there and to let you all understand why. Now, as of recently, within the past few years or so, you all have heard the word little, which is supposed to be a version of the word little, Little, and instead of saying little, we say lil, Lil. Then we have the word young, Young, and a derivative that we get from young is Yung, young. Now, it's important to understand that just because you change a few letters, it doesn't change the word sound and the original meaning or intent behind the particular word. Now, one thing that I wish to do at this time when it comes to these particular words is to expound some on them. And you know, with me, that usually means looking for the reference or the referencing of the words. Now, let's start off with little or little. Little. Small in size, amount, or degree, often used to convey an appealing diminutiveness or express an affectionate or condescending attitude. For example, the plants will grow into little bushes. A little puppy dog, a boring little man. He's a good little worker. Small. Next reference of a person, young or younger. My little brother, when she was little, my little brother, or when she was little, she was always getting into scrapes. Denoting something, especially a place that is named after a similar, larger one. Used in names of animals and plants that are smaller than related kinds. Of short distance or duration. Relatively unimportant, trivial, often used ironically. We have a little problem. I can't remember every little detail. As an adjective and pronoun, little or a small amount. We got a little help from my sister. Or short time or distance, once again, used to emphasize how small an amount is. I have little doubt of their identity, okay? As an adverb, less, least, to a small extent. Used only to a small extent. Hardly or not at all. Little did he know. Okay? Let's look up the etymology or the origin, the derivatives, which is of Germanic origin, which you all who have been listening to these, I have pointed out how a lot of the English dialect comes from German or Germanic way of speaking with some Latin. Now, the main emphasis or the thing we're looking here at is that regardless of anything else, little is always referring to something small. Small in recognition, small in stature. And if we're speaking of, let's say, someone who we may call a little man or a little woman, we're speaking of someone who is smaller in ways than we are. Okay? Now, when you look up the word young and you go all the way to the origin of the word or the etymology of the word, it comes from the Latin word, or it's of Germanic origin relating to Dutch jong or jong, Jong, and German jung, Jung, or young, also to youth, from an Indo-European root shared by the Latin juvenis, which will denote what? Juvenile. And whenever we refer to something juvenile, we're referring to something that is immature, something that doesn't have a lot of knowledge, doesn't have experience to be wise and to be knowledgeable. Why am I using these words, you ask? It's because I wish to point out another mind control program that's being used against us in music, specifically anyone who is named Lil This or Young That. Now, as the references have shown you, it refers to something that is little, small in size, unimportant. And in the case of dealing with people or individuals, when we usually refer to something little or young, we're referring to something that is small in mind, small in stature, and don't know nothing. Okay? So, what do you feel would be the effect of listening to music by individuals whose names are Lil or Young? Basically, if you listen to the music and the actions that are expressed in the music is of someone who does not have a regard for anyone else, doesn't care, and only concerned for themselves. Isn't that like most juveniles? So if we are praising music of that sort put out by names as such, then what we're actually putting forth with our energy is that we are accepting the mindset and actions and reality of individuals who do not carry any responsibility for their thoughts, feelings, and actions that reflect those thoughts and feelings. Can you get my point now? This is why I put this forth in this particular post, because we have to realize that these so-called Lil These or Young That's are affecting not only us, they're affecting our children. And if your child, well, let's put it in correct usage. If your progeny or offspring are listening to the words that is coming from someone who displays those negative actions, then what are we programming our children with? Matter of fact, what are we aiding the machine to program our children into being? When your favorite rapper is someone who carries a name as such, we got issues, we got problems, we got volume, we have some challenges to face that we're choosing not to pay attention of because the music sounds good or it makes you dance. See, those who are using the science of slavery know that there are specific individuals on the planet who respond to rhythmic vibrations exclusively and very powerfully. So what they have done is to take the so-called rhythm and vibes and put a message of negativity, and we respond to it like it's not nothing, like it's just something to do, or it's just music. Okay, then why are a major percent of men and women displaying the actions that are expressed in this music? I wish for you all to contemplate on that for a little while. And you know I'm always open to suggestions and comments and any other sort. My purpose in doing these videos or these posts is to allow you all to see that we have allowed ourselves to be put in a mental prison, whether we spoke it or we allowed someone else to speak it into us, and we repeated the words that brought forth the actions. Until the next post, Hatep.